Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we're keeping it geekly with our returning guest at Asa Wheatley. We're here to break down Shield Maiden, Book 4, and everything in between. I had the chance to read Book 3 right before we went live, Book 2 last year. I love what you're doing with this series. Before we dive in too deep, though, give us a little bit about what's been up since last time you've been on the show. I want to say it's roughly probably been about a year.
Yeah, probably been about a year. Probably last time was the Book 3 Kickstarter, which I think I did around this time last year. So yeah, it's been good. Just been most of kind of after we chatted was finishing Book 3, getting it out, packing a lot of parcels, sending a lot of things out, doing a few like conventions and stuff like that, and then kind of starting again and just starting that like cycle again and working on Book 4, and now I'm in the middle of that, so I've got all the post Kickstarter stuff to look forward to when it finishes. So
I really like this series, Sagas of the Shield Maiden. It's like an anthology where you just find different artists to complete different like it almost feels like self-contained stories within like an overarching, like I wouldn't say it's like a crazy story, but it's like all these different parts of her lore like thrown in, and I love just how you crafted this story around this one singular warrior. Can you give us a little bit about the protagonist?
Yeah, sure. I mean, what do you want to know, like about her just in general, or how?
Yeah, in general.
Okay, so she is a nameless Shield Maiden, so inspired by the kind of like Clint Eastwood westerns and of like spaghetti westerns of that kind of era. The like lone hero who maybe isn't as like pitch perfect goody two shoes as some people might want them to be, who kind of goes in and out of different areas, towns, villages, whatever, and either makes worse or makes better the problems that they have. And I just wanted to write a story about, I wanted to write a lot of different stories about the same character without fully, at least at the start, being tied down to, oh, everything has to follow on exactly and I can't change things as I go, and being able to use the kind of like different artists' style to maybe tell different stories or reflect different things in the stories was something that, yeah, I was really excited about doing and bringing to the character, but having that character being instantly recognizable in each of the stories.
So was there any trouble in getting the cohesion of like the overall just book to flow with multiple artists? Like, did you find any challenging aspects with that? No,
weirdly. I was kind of expecting some. I was thinking maybe there would be like a little bit of it, but Michelle Marham, who is one of the illustrators in the first book, she did the design of the like the main character of the Shield Maiden, and she just made a little design sheet with the kind of like color palette and the look of the Shield Maiden, and I just gave that to every artist, and it's never been an issue. She's never not been instantly like recognizable in kind of no matter what people's styles are.
I really like, you know, the obviously the iconic shield. I feel like it's in the name, so she has to have like a badass shield, but the sword and then the hair and the scar, it's like all of those parts create such a striking protagonist that no matter like where you see her, you could always tell it's her.
Yeah, it's definitely that thing of, it's a lot of, well, not necessarily a lot, but is a few little things that then kind of bring her together as like one like whole character that you can go, oh yeah, I know exactly who that is. And if one of those things is missing, then you're like, oh, like what's happening here? Like there are some stories where she doesn't have the scar and it's like an earlier part of her life. And so it's that kind of like, oh, it maybe dates it in a way that, oh, this is going to then lead to these other stories. And yeah, it's those small details that I think individually maybe wouldn't have worked if there was only like one of them, but together just really make it that instantly recognizable, like you say.
And the way you go about storytelling and having it be different parts of the protagonist's journey in life, I really appreciate that aspect of it. I'm having a hard time, I guess, remembering since it's been so long ago. Did book 2 like have like Norse mythology influences within it as well?
Oh, now you're asking, because I haven't read it for ages. I'm too concentrated on book 4. So I think book 2 was more historical, and then book 3 fully delves into the like mythology stuff.
And I really like that. That was cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's a little bit in book 1. It kind of hints towards some stuff, but yeah, book 2 kind of took a more historical, introducing some kind of like historical characters who are supposedly real, and then book 3 really delved into the mythology stuff. But those stories were stories that I had ideas for right at the start, but I just thought they didn't fit straight away. I needed that time to build up the character a bit to be able to tell some of those stories and have those kind of like mythological elements to it. I needed there to be a little bit of a basis first, and then it just kind of like coincided that they mostly all came in the same book.
I think you did a solid job of introducing the Shield Maiden and what she's capable of before doing that. It almost felt like it probably would have been showing your hand a little too early to show, you know, some of the more Norse mythology aspects to it, I guess. Are we allowed to talk about book 3, or is that spoiler-ish?
I mean, it can be spoiler-ish, but I think it's okay to talk about, because otherwise we'll dance around it. It doesn't necessarily, like, it won't ruin what has come before. It's not like this sudden piece of information that will like ruin the books before. And I think it's interesting knowing and then reading the earlier books. But yeah, I think we can.
You know, I was gonna say I think it kind of makes sense. Not that the you know book 1, book 2 didn't make sense, but it makes her strength, her prowess in battle a little bit more clear, I guess. Like the fact that her lineage. And I really appreciated how you went about showing that, like how we were introduced to that aspect of it. It was almost like a whoa, where are we? Yeah,
I mean, it's cool. Like I'm just going to talk about it.
Yeah, good. I didn't want to do it, so I'll let you do it.
That's fine. I'll do it. So the main character, if you have seen an image of her, you might be able to tell, but she is essentially the daughter of Thor. The famous mythological god. Marvel did me a favor in incorrectly giving him blonde hair, and so it makes it a little bit less obvious for kind of the general public. But her red hair is a very intrinsic link to Thor and how he looks in kind of Norse mythology. But yeah, that was something that I always knew. Going into it, I started writing the book knowing that was like a truth about her. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to make her unnamed and have her kind of be. It worked in that, obviously, because the book is inspired by Westerns, it worked that, yes, you have an unnamed hero kind of going through, but it also made it my life easier that nobody was saying her name. And in the kind of like Old Norse and still in Icelandic culture, your surname is your parents' name and then either son or daughter, which is either son or daughter. And so revealing that straight away would have kind of like shown my hand a little bit. But I always knew, and so everything made sense in that part. And there is in book 1, there is a scene where she speaks to Thor, but you kind of don't really quite know who it is, and he talks about knowing her mother, but he doesn't like let anything like slip. And so I kind of put that in straight away, so that it's like, oh well, it is in there. If you really like look for it, you can see the like elements of it. But yeah, bringing it into into book 3 was something that I've wanted to do, but like we were talking about, didn't feel right to do it immediately. And I think it works better you getting to know that character a bit more before you see that reveal.
I really like too how the Shield Maiden is mortal. Like the Shield Maiden's able to bleed, they're able to get scars, they're able to get hurt, you know, fall in love. You're almost blindsided, I guess. Like if you're not super eagle-eyed and looking at the details and kind of have an idea what's going on, like you're almost blindsided, like, whoa, like I didn't see that, you know, she was gonna be this. Like it's such an awesome spin. With book 3, we had 3 stories in it. How many stories can we expect in book 4?
So book 4 is going to be the same. It's going to be 3 stories again, and it's going to follow book 3's kind of format quite closely. So what we did in book 3 is there's a story that takes place in her kind of younger years, a story that takes place when she's much older, and then a kind of short story in the middle that takes place essentially whenever I want to pick and pull from. And so book 4 is going to follow those 2 timelines, the younger timeline and the older timeline. It is now going to be like chronologically. So it will still have, I'm kind of like taking the best of both worlds. So I'll still have the anthology element because it will still be somewhat self-contained stories. It will still be different artists working on the book. And then it will be also a kind of like longer running, or starting off a longer running storyline at the same time.
So do you ever find any challenging aspects to balancing the younger version and the older version of her? I mean, I'm sure that middle part's not too bad, but like to have the young and the older versions, like do you find yourself maybe tripping over how she would act as an older individual compared to her younger self?
Yeah, totally. It's keeping track of other characters as well, keeping track of like people who are in her younger timeline against people who are in her older timeline. I almost kind of to a degree have to treat them as like 2 separate characters with 2 separate stories. And you have this one character who's the kind of like younger, more brash, reckless, maybe especially after finding out of her like heritage, and that version of her. And then you have a story about a kind of like older, more battle hardened, has been through a lot more and has lived maybe too longer than like she might have wanted to, and is for lack of a better word fed up with a lot of stuff. And that anger that's kind of probably still in her from younger, and like in both the younger and the older version, manifests differently. It manifests in the older version, it's probably a more grumpy, fed up, whereas the younger, it's more like bloodlust and recklessness. So yeah, it's splitting them and almost treating them like different characters, but then also making sure that there is still a through line, there is still an element of like, oh yeah, this character can evolve into this.
I love that. And the cover, of course, is gorgeous. I love just seeing Shield Maiden go up against a wave of individuals armed, you know, to the teeth. For everyone watching, we've dropped the link to the Kickstarter in chat twice. Be sure to check out that link. We're going to be taking a deep look at the campaign here in just a few seconds, but back it if you can. If you can't back it, put it on Facebook and Twitter. Word of mouth costs absolutely nothing. So who's the cover artist?
So the cover artist is Matt Smith. So you can find he does stuff under Barbarian Lord, I think is his like Twitter and stuff. But yeah, he's a great artist. He did some Hellboy stuff recently, as well as some other kind of more like Viking-y fantasy stuff in the past. One of the things that he does that I thoroughly enjoy is there is I cannot remember for the life of me remember their name now, but there is a writer who made a like Norse mythology as read by Bostonians.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's all written as if it's like in the like kind of like Bostonian accent, and they will post every now and again like on their website like excerpts from the book, because they like printed it in a book, and Matt does a lot of the artwork for that. And it's a combination of like Bostonian humor and Viking and Norse mythology, and it's great. But yeah, so he's the cover artist, and yeah, I've been wanting to like work with him for a long time, and it's perfect. I love it.
So we have a few preview images as well. One thing I really like about this series is each story is going to have its own artist that's going to be tied to it. Does each book have roughly about 3 stories, or does it vary?
So the first one has 5. So the first one has 5 stories, but they're all a bit shorter. And then from book 2, I kind of introduced, I guess, the 2 slightly longer stories and then a short story in the middle, and that's kind of what we'll do, like continuing on, and that's what book 3 and book 4 are.
And right here is a preview from book 3 by Tango. Shout out to Tango. I met Tango a while ago on Twitter, and I think Tango's the one that set us up. I know there was a creator
possibly
from the indie sphere that set us up. So shout out to Tango. This is some gorgeous work going on here. I love the encounter with the bear. And you see how mortal, well, I wouldn't say, I don't know how you would word it, but you see that she can get wounded and get tore up a little bit. She's not 100% mortal. So I love how you don't know when she's going to die. You don't know what's going to be what finally takes her out.
Yeah.
And this, of course, was like for me, like the story that had the biggest twist in it, right? Like, I'm like, what? Yeah. Like, whoa.
Yeah, and it's come from something else. So that story starts with her attending like the funeral of the woman that she loves, and it's her going off on this adventure in a way to find herself, and then literally finds out incredible information about herself that she didn't know. So it is for her as well as for the audience. It does seemingly come out of nowhere, but it is something that was planned for a while.
And I love these sound effects too, the crunch and like the stab right here with like the blood like going off, like very awesome, attention to detail with these panels. Here's some previews.
Super fun to write. I always have fun writing them and trying to figure out what sounds would be what. I think when I started, I was kind of like, I don't know if I should do that many. And then the letterer Ken Reynolds, he kind of like sent pages back, and I was like, oh, this looks great. I'm gonna do more.
No, that's awesome. So it was the letterer who did the sound effects for you?
Yeah.
Awesome work. And we have some previews from book 4 as well. So give us what I'll do is, I guess when we're looking at the image, give us a little bit about the artist that's involved with it. So we have Bloodied and Bruised. Yeah,
so this is a younger like story set in her kind of like younger timeline, I guess, by Laura Helsby and JP Jordan. So JP Jordan colored those Tango pages as well. I super enjoyed working with him on book 3, so I wanted to work with him.
Isn't it crazy? Like, not to interrupt, but like the same colors and just like how different it is with the artist. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, and Laura did a pin-up for book 3, and I just really wanted to work with them. I've been wanting to work with them for a while, and yeah, they came in and smashed it. I've seen all of their pages for this story that they did, and they are awesome. There's like some really good like battle stuff, but then there's some really good like emotional stuff as well. They knocked it out of the park, and then JP's colors on the top are just perfect combination.
And their attention, like the detail with like the gore, like the intestines right here and everything, it just is brutal. Yeah. Oh my god, this is awesome.
That's the first page of the story. So that is literally how the story opens, just with that shot of the like slice coming.
And it's funny because if you follow Laura on Twitter, they've been doing a lot of like NBA like drawings. So it's wild to see like all this blood and gore. Then we have a gift given, a love shared.
Yeah, so Gift Given Love Shared is going to be illustrated by Alice Lissette and coloured by Fabi Marquez, who worked on book 2. So Alice I hadn't worked with before, but I found their stuff and really liked it. Haven't got any preview pages of that yet, but hopefully we'll have something to share before the campaign's over. That one is going to be taking place, that's going to be the kind of shorter interstitial story, like the middle story. And that I kind of just wanted to show a different side of Shield Maiden, the side of her like living a somewhat happy life. And it takes place before the kind of big reveal in book 3. So it's kind of before she knows like who she is and who she's connected to. And I wanted to show a different side of her. And then the pages that we're looking at now are from the third story, which is the kind of older Shield Maiden. You can see that fed up grumpiness really comes through. But this takes place immediately after one of the stories in book 1. And this follows Shield Maiden and Eskil, who is a character that she is claiming the bounty for in book 1. Doesn't quite go to plan, and so she continues to kind of like drag him along basically. And it's about them kind of like moving past maybe what they are labeled as.
I really love, like, I don't know what it is, but I am such a sucker for when like it's winter and then the protagonist has like the fur collar.
Yeah. So that art's all by Rachel Tubb, English illustrator who I really like. She did a book, I want to say it's called Metal Saga, but that could be totally wrong. But it was really cool. Just look up Rachel Tubb, you'll be able to find her stuff. But yeah, that book was really cool, and I looked at it and I was just like, she needs to be in a Shield Maiden book. And that's
so cool.
Yeah,
that's gorgeous. That is gorgeous work. So let's go through some of these rewards and we'll get this party started. So for everyone that is watching, be sure to check it out with us. Right here is a link. If you're unable to back, put this on Facebook and Twitter. Word of mouth costs you nothing. What are you waiting for? I'm pretty sure I read all 4 of them. It's been about a year. I just read book 3 this morning and it was amazing. I don't know why I said all 4. This one's not even made, but you guys know what I mean. You can get a PDF of this for £6, about $8 USD. We can get the book 1 for £15, about $20 USD. Then book 4 coming hot off the press at £15 and about $20 USD. You'll also get a PDF of book 4 and then your name on the thank you page of the book as well. We have a digital catch-up for about £18, about $23 USD. This will get you 1 through 4. How many pages do you say this is going to be?
So it's about 140 pages of comics, and then there's a bunch of like backup stuff like throughout all of the books. There's pin-up galleries in every book. There's breakdowns of like concept art and articles about like process and things like that. So there's minimum is probably about 160 pages, if not more. I think they're all about maybe up to the 200 mark.
Then we have stickers and cards. These is this like Magic the Gathering vibe I'm picking up here?
Yeah. So it's something that I worked with Ken on, who does the lettering and who does the design for the book as well. I kind of like approached him and was like, do you want to give this a go? He was super on board for it, and yeah, those are what he came up with. They look awesome. I love them.
So cool.
I selfishly just want them for me.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I was just like, oh yeah, these have to be in the campaign.
We have the physical of book 4 plus prints for £30, $39 USD. book for about 40 plus pages of comics, and then 5 pinups included. So awesome, bang for your buck there.
Yeah, five pinups, 6 prints, one with the cover without any other text, and then the 5 pinups from amazing array of artists.
We have the digital comics collection from Asa as well for £30, about $39 USD. So this will get you all 4 sagas of Shield Maiden, the Campfire Stories anthology, Sprouting in Facts Lore, and Tales of the Mystery graphic novel. So definitely a great collection of books underneath your belt so far. Not too bad, not too bad. You can get book 4 plus all the extras at £40, about 51 USD. So get those trading cards, get those print stickers, and of course the physical book itself. We have the catch-up physical at £55, $70 USD. So 1 through 4, awesome price on that. You can get the Asa Comics collection at £90, about 115 USD, and then catch up all extras and prints, £100, 127 USD. That's a mouthful to say, by the way.
I know. There's a lot of stuff. 4 books. It's like 12 prints, stickers.
Well, no. The pounds to USD. Like, shoot. Anytime I interview anyone from across the pond, it's like, man, I need to take a couple extra sips of water. So you can get all the earlier or if you missed out on the earlier campaigns and want physical copies of all the books and 3 print sets, this is the tier for you. You're gonna get those trading cards as well as the stickers too. So awesome bundle if you're trying to get into Shield Maiden fully. So guys, right there is everything in its entirety. Be sure to check it out. If you're unable to back, put it on Facebook and Twitter. Word of mouth costs you nothing. So for anyone on the fence about backing, what would you like to say to them to help push them over that hump?
Back it.
Do it.
If you like any kind of action, there is a little bit of romance, there's mythology, there's history, there's blood and violence. It has a mix of everything, and jump on now before you have to catch up when there's way too many to pick up. So
how long is this series going to go on for? Do you have like
I've got plans for 10.
10? Okay, so we're almost about halfway through. Not bad.
Yeah, and then if I get to 10 and I'm not sick of doing it, then I will keep doing it. But
do you ever have a plan? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. I've planned to 10, but yeah, I could do more.
Do you ever have a plan of like putting them in chronological order at some point, like coming out with like a book like that?
Yeah, I thought about it, and then I think the beauty of especially the earlier books is them not being in chronological order. Like I remember when the first 1 and 2 came out and talking to people, and people really liked them not being like in that order. And if you think you'll get confused by that, in book 3 there is a timeline so that you can make the chronological order your own yourself, and you can just read them in those orders. But yeah, it's something I thought about. But yeah, I think I like the way that they are presented. So I don't know how likely it'll be.
So for anyone out there looking to do an anthology, what would be your biggest piece of advice when working with so many different artists? I guess like if you could talk to yourself during the process of book 1, what would be the biggest piece of advice you'd give yourself?
Have that consistency of character. So obviously there are anthologies that are all just vastly different stories, maybe linked by a theme. But obviously, Shield Maiden has a massive link between each of the stories, and having that consistency of character in both the art, but then also both in the way that she's written, or at least like presented, that was key for me, making sure that it was reasonable that this could be exactly the same character throughout all these stories, and not just me randomly putting this skin over the top of vastly different characters that didn't make sense. So even though they're like out of order and not chronological, people can still read it and understand, oh yeah, that is the same character, just in different points of her life.
No, that is awesome. So outside of creating, what are you consuming? What video games are you playing? What books are you reading? What TV shows are you watching? I know, everyone missed it before show. We were talking about how like insanely busy we are, how we don't even have a life. Yeah. But when you do get that life, what are you up to?
So at the moment, we are watching Fargo season 5, which has been great. I think we've literally got one episode left, and so that's been really good. I really like all the Fargo series, so it's good, odd crime stuff. And yeah, that's been the big thing recently, and the big and it's so good that it's kind of all I think about.
I'll definitely have to check that out. I just realized that The Boys finally dropped the new season 4 episode, so I kind of binged those out at the gym. There's one episode that was on Facebook, it was deemed as one of the grossest ones in TV, and I'm like, you guys obviously haven't watched enough TV if you think this. But, yeah, but I was watching it at the gym, and I remember it because it was after work. It was 1 a.m. There was someone working out next to me, and that scene popped up, and I remember just being oh crap, I'm about to get kicked out.
Just ever slightly tilt the.
I had to grab the screen So Asa, thank you so much for swinging by, hanging out with us this morning, and breaking down book 3 and book 4 for us. Everyone watching, right here is a link for you to check out as well. And once again, if you're not able to back, put this on Facebook and Twitter. Word of mouth costs you nothing. Hope you all have a fantastic day, but most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.